All right, we're recording now. So for today's class, we're going to start seated, comfortable, upright position. And we'll begin by closing your eyes. Place your left hand around your heart somewhere. See if you can kind of feel that beating, your right hand on your belly. And we're just going to start to notice our breath. On your inhale, see if you can feel your belly filling. Exhale as it decreases. Notice your heart. And see if you can even your inhales and exhales. So maybe count to 3 with the inhale and 3 for your exhale. Relaxing our shoulders and our jaw. We'll slowly start to open our eyes. Soft gaze. Bring your hands down gently. We're going to begin with a few gentle neck stretches. So we'll start by taking our left hand, wrapping it over the top of our head, and just did I say left hand? Yep, I'm sorry. Here I am. Left ear falls towards your left shoulder. Just using the weight of your arm for a gentle stretch on the right side of your neck. Gently release that left hand. Let that chin drop and then roll it around so your right ear is towards your right shoulder. And then we'll switch arms, right hand reaching over, grabbing the top of the left side of your head. A gentle stretch here in the left side of your neck. Slowly releasing your right hand. Let that chin drop. Roll it around to the other side. And from here, we're going to do a few seated cat and cows. So if you're sitting on anything, you can go ahead and move that. We're sitting nice and tall. Legs are crossed. Place your hands onto your knees. And we'll slowly start to curve our spine, pulling our chin in, sort of sucking that belly in, creating the arch in the spine. And then we'll inhale and lift our chest and lift our chin, sitting nice and tall. Maybe using your hands as leverage on your knees to help pull yourself forward. And then exhale, moving with your breath, tucking that chin, curving your spine. And again, inhale, lifting the chest. Exhale, curving your spine, tucking your chin. Last one, inhale, lifting the chin, your chest. And then we're sitting nice and tall here. We're going to inhale both of our arms up and overhead, looking up at those fingertips. And then as we exhale, we're going to come into a gentle twist. So the right hand is going to come into the left knee, left hand behind us. Sitting nice and tall. See if you can look out over that back shoulder. Inhale again, arms up and overhead, switching sides. Left hand to right knee, right hand behind us. Again, switching sides. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Right hand to left knee, Inhale, nice and tall, spine is straight. Exhale, gentle twist using the hand on the leverage of the knee if you'd like. Inhale again. And last one, exhale, we're twisting left hand on right knee, looking out over our shoulder. Inhale, arms up and overhead, pressing palms together and bring them down our center line. And you can take this moment if you'd like to set an intention for your practice. Maybe just thank yourself for making the time to do something nice for yourself today. Releasing your palms, opening your eyes. We'll do just a couple gentle wrist stretches before we move a little bit more. Stretching your right hand out in front of you. Your palm is flexed, fingers are pointing upwards. Still sitting nice and tall. We're going to start to rotate that hand outwards. So the fingertips are turning out towards the right side. And see if you can bring them all the way down. You should feel a stretch in the whole inside of your arm. Those fingertips are pulling backwards. We're going to grab a hold of the pinky finger, pull it downwards. And the ring finger, pulling that downwards. Gently, the middle finger, pointer finger. Releasing that, we're going to rotate back down the other way so the thumb's pointing downwards, and we'll give that thumb a little pull. Just good wrist stretches for any of us that are working on our computers or spending lots of time typing and things. Left hand out, palm facing forward, fingers upwards. Start to rotate that out, fingers to the side, then downwards. Hand is flexed. Let's grab a hold of that pinky, give it a little pull. Ring finger, a little pull. Middle finger, pointer finger. Release that and we'll rotate back upwards. Then our thumb is pointing down. Give that thumb a little pull. Shoulders are away from our ears. Release that thumb. Give them all a little shake. And then we're going to come into a tabletop position. So we've got our wrists below our shoulders, knees below our hips as much as we can without a mirror to check our alignment. Fingers are spread wide. And now we're going to do just a couple more cat and cows here. Tops of the feet are pushing into the mat. Inhale, sink the belly, lift the tailbone, lift that chest and the chin. Exhale, curving the spine, tucking the tailbone, tucking that chin. A few more moving with your breath. Inhale as we lift that chest, tailbone, exhale, curving that spine, tucking the chin. Inhale. Exhale. We'll come to a neutral tabletop pose. And as we inhale, we're going to reach our left leg out, nice and long behind us. Right arm reaches out, nice and long in front of us. Try and keep a sort of a flat surface in our tabletop if we can. And then we'll bring those back down to the mat, switching sides. Right leg stretches out and behind us, left arm. Bringing it down to the mat, switching sides again. Right arm reaches out, left leg behind us. And this time we're going to bend that left knee, sweep that right arm around behind us, and see if you can grab a hold of that foot. If you can find it back there, you might need to look out over your right shoulder. If you've got a hold of that, inhale, see if you can push the top of your foot into your hand. If you haven't been able to reach it, then you can just lift that leg, arm is reaching behind. Lifting the chest just a little bit, helping to open up that shoulder, front of the chest. Then we'll release, reaching the arm and the leg nice and long, and bringing them back to tabletop. Switching sides, right leg reaches nice and long, left arm out in front of us, nice flat tabletop. Bend that right knee, sweep the left arm around behind us. If you've got a hold of that foot, push into the top of that foot and see if you can open up that left shoulder and your chest. Lifting that right leg. Then we'll release. Arms nice and long, leg nice and long. Back down to the mat. And then we'll tuck our toes. We're going to push up into our first downward facing dog. So fingers spread wide, index finger pointing straight ahead. We'll lift the tailbone. Maybe walk those legs out. Maybe give your hips a wiggle. Whatever feels good. Might like to bend your knees, kind of pushing your chest in towards those knees. And then straightening the legs, nice and long. Breathing while we're here. We're going to look forward between our hands. We'll step our right foot forward, our left to meet our right for a forward fold at the top of our mat. And we'll rise up very slowly. Bring our hands to our heart center. And from here, we're going to step our feet as wide as the mat, about a 45-degree angle. I'm just going to face forwards as we do this. So from here, we're going to squat down into Malasana. So slowly start to bend our knees. This may be your pose. You may be able just to come into a squat. Otherwise, you may be able to come all the way down. We've got our hands in prayer. Elbows are inside of our knees if we can. See if you can use those elbows to push the knees open a little bit. Our chest is tall. Gazing out. Releasing your hands, we're going to place the left hand down onto the mat. So we shift let's bring it up to the outside of the left knee. Shift our weight to the left side. Stretch that right leg out nice and long. Foot is flexed. Right arm comes up. Nice and long above us. Opening up space in the right side of our body, in the right rib cage. We'll come back to center. Hands into prayer again, into Malasana in our squat. If you're up here, a little bit further up, as we switch sides, you can just sort of rotate and move. Shifting your weight out, we'll switch sides now. Left leg out nice and straight, foot's flexed. Left arm comes up, nice and long to the side. Coming back to center. One more breath here, Malasana in our squat. Placing your hands down on the mat in front of you, we're going to lift our tailbone into a forward fold, and then we'll heel toe our feet back together. So we're here at the top of our mat. Forward fold. We're going to hang here for a moment. You can grab a hold of your elbows if you'd like. Maybe shake your head no. Using the weight of our arms to pull our body a little bit further forward. Keep a nice bend in those knees if you'd like. Should feel some space opening up in our spine. Release those elbows if you've got a hold, and we'll very slowly rise up. Looking at your feet, let's bring our big toes together. You can have a slight space in your heels if you'd like. We're going to come into chair pose. If it's more comfortable for you, you can keep your toes a little bit further apart. So we're going to start to sink back. Imagine that you're sitting on a ledge, sweeping those arms up and overhead, shoulders away from the ears. See if you can lift your toes off the mat. This is a good indication if you're sitting back far enough. You might be able to kind of play with your weight, rocking it back and forward. Looking straight ahead. Breathing while we're here. Our legs are nice and strong, supporting us. Inhale, rise up and forward fold again. One breath here, and then we'll very slowly rise up. We're going to come into chair again as we sweep our arms up and overhead. We're sitting back on our imaginary ledge. Shoulders away from the ears. This time we'll push our hands into prayer, pulling them down into our center. We're going to come into a twist. So we're gonna see if we can take that left elbow and hook it onto the right knee. If not, just go ahead and and twist with your upper body. If you've got your left elbow hooked onto your knee, just make sure your knees aren't falling out to the left side. They're straight ahead still. Breathing here. Sitting back on our ledge, we're gonna come back to center, hands still in prayer. Switching sides, you've got this, we're almost there. Right elbow on left knee, twisting if we can. Otherwise, just with our upper body, we're almost there. Coming back to center. One more breath here, sweeping our arms up and overhead. Sit back just a little bit further if you can. Exhale, rise up and forward fold. This time you can grab a hold of your elbows again if you'd like, or you can place your hands underneath the bottoms of your feet if that's comfortable for you. Still bending those knees if you'd like. Nice big stretch on our hamstrings. Now let's release those hands or the elbows if you've got them. And very, very slowly, we're going to rise back up. Slower than you think you can go. Don't want the blood to rush through our head too quickly. We'll bring our hands to our heart center. Taking a moment here. We're going to inhale, sweep our arms up and overhead as we step our left foot back for warrior two. Arms are overhead and we twist them open, checking our alignment. Your left foot is at a 90-degree angle. Right heel is in line with the instep of your left foot. And we bend that front knee. Checking that you're not pulling too far forwards or back. We want to be straight up our center. Arms reaching equally forwards and back. Fingers spread wide. Shoulders are away from our ears. If you'd like, you can twist your palms towards the ceiling and then back down, just to help hold them away. Looking down at that right foot, check that you can see your big toe. That means your right knee isn't sinking inwards. One more breath here. Then we'll straighten that front leg. We're gonna shimmy the left hip out towards the back of the room as we reach forward with our right hand, coming into triangle pose. So right hand sweeps down to the inside of your right calf, possibly touching the mat, wherever it's comfortable for you. Then we open that left arm up towards the ceiling. And if you'd like, you can use your right arm or right hand as leverage on your right calf to help twist your upper body open. Imagine that you're being pressed between two planes of glass, trying to flatten yourself out here. One more breath here. Inhale, we'll rise up. Bend that front right knee again for warrior two. Looking out over those right hands. We'll windmill our hands either side of that right foot. Stepping back into a plank pose. We'll take our first vinyasa. So you can go ahead with chaturanga, or you can lower with knees, chest, either way, tucking your elbows in, chin, maybe a baby cobra or upward facing dog. And we'll meet in downward facing dog. Anytime we're here, feel free to wiggle those legs or those hips, bending your knees, whatever your body needs today. We'll look forward between your hands, step your left foot forward, your right to meet your left, then we'll forward fold. Very slowly rising up. Bringing our hands to our heart center. Take a moment here. Then we'll switch sides. So sweeping those arms up and overhead, we're gonna step the right foot back, coming into warrior two. I'm just gonna switch sides here. So we windmill those hands open, checking our alignment again. Bending that left knee, gazing out over those left fingers. Breathing while we're here, never holding our breath. Nice strong legs. One more breath here, and then we'll move into triangle pose. So you're gonna start to straighten that left leg. Shimmy that right hip out towards the back of your mat as that left hand reaches forward, sweeping it down to the inside of your left calf. Right hand sweeps up towards the ceiling. Opening up that chest. Gazes out to the side or up towards the ceiling, whatever's comfortable for you. Just check that you're not straining your neck. Last breath here, we're going to slowly start to rise up. Coming into warrior two for one breath. Then again, we're going to windmill our hands either side of that front left foot. Stepping back into high plank. You can go straight to downward facing dog or take a vinyasa. Downward dog can be considered a rest pose in some ways. It's a place for us to catch our breath if we need to. Looking forward between our hands, we're going to step our right foot forward, our left to meet our right, forward fold, and then very slowly rising up. Bringing our hands to our heart center. Moving with our breath. This time we're going to step back into a low lunge. So folding the mat if you need to, if you have any problems with your knees. Step that left leg back into a low lunge. Sweeping those arms up and overhead. Check that your hips are squared towards the front of the mat. Shoulders away from your ears. Maybe smiling. Now place those hands either side of your right foot. Tuck those left toes, rise up and step back into a high plank. Take a vinyasa or just meet in downward facing dog. Whatever your body needs today. Always listen. Looking forward between your hands. Step that left foot forward, the right to meet your left, forward fold. Inhale, slowly rising up. Bringing your hands to your heart center. Switching sides, we're going to come into a low lunge on the other side. Stepping that right leg back. Lower your knee down to the mat. Check your hips are square using your hands if you need to. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Our hips are a place that we often hold emotions. It's good to stretch them out, help us release anything that we're holding on to. Glutes are engaged while we're here, protecting our lower back. Exhale, hands either side of that left foot, tuck those right toes, step the left leg back, high plank. Take a vinyasa or meet in downward facing dog. So from here now, we're going to lift our right leg up nice and long for a three-legged dog, keeping those hips squared to the mat still. And we're going to do some elbow taps here. So stay with me. As we shift our weight forward, we're going to bring our right knee, tapping it to our right elbow. Then stick that back up for a three-legged dog. Come forward, shifting our weight, right knee to left elbow for a tap. Back up nice and long, three-legged dog. Curving it in, tapping it towards your chin this time, so in the center line. Back up nice and long. Lowering that right leg back down to the mat. We'll switch sides. Inhaling your left leg up nice and long. Hips are squared. Let's bring that left knee to left elbow. Nice and long, three-legged dog. Left knee to right elbow. Tapping it nice and long. Curving in towards your chin, left knee towards the chin. Nice and long, lowering back down to the mat. We're gonna do that one more time on each side. Our core is so important to us, helping us through many yoga poses. Nice and long, three-legged dog. Right leg up towards the sky. Tap that right knee to the right elbow. Back up, three-legged dog. Right knee to left elbow. Three-legged dog. Back to the center, right knee to your chin. Back up for a three-legged dog. Lowering that for a downward facing dog. Let's give our hips a bit of a wiggle over here. Then we'll stretch that left leg up nice and long. Shifting your weight forward. Left knee to left elbow. Back up nice and long for three-legged dog. Left knee to right elbow. Again, three-legged dog, nice and long. Last one, left knee to chin. Stretch that back up nice and long. Three-legged dog, lower that back down. And then we're gonna come into wide-legged child's pose. So knees as wide as the mat. Lower your sit bones back towards your heels. And see if you can find a place for your forehead to rest on the mat. If that's not comfortable, maybe create a stack with your hands. Fists, one on top, or just one. A nice place for your neck to rest. Catching our breath here. Notice how your body's feeling. We've just celebrated the summer solstice, longest day of the year. We're officially in summer now. The hottest season of the year. It's important to take time for your body to cool when it needs to. Poses like this are a nice place to catch your breath, cool down. Spreading your fingers wide. We're gonna slowly start to rise up. Tucking those toes, lift your tailbone. We're gonna push back into downward facing dog. From here, we're looking and look forward between your hands. Step that right foot forward, your left to meet your right. Forward fold, and then very slowly rising up from here. Bringing your hands to your heart center. Take a moment, standing, realign yourself. From here, we're going to come into warrior two again. So let's step that left leg back, 90-degree angle, checking our alignment. Then we'll windmill those arms open. Gazing out over those right fingertips. Hopefully trying to keep our spine nice and straight. Breathing. And we'll take that right hand, we're gonna start to slide it back down that right thigh. We're gonna reverse our warrior here, so that right hand, sorry, left hand, my mistake, goes down that left thigh. Right hand sweeps up and over. We're opening our chest towards the ceiling if we can while we're here. See if you can lift that chest, lift your gaze without straining your neck. Last breath, we'll rise back up. Warrior two for a breath. Straighten that front right leg. We're coming into triangle again, so let's shimmy that left hip back out towards the back of the room. Right hand reaches forward, swooping down to the inside of our right thigh. Left arm comes up and overhead. Just give me 1 second here. Sorry, I lost you there for a second. Okay, so we're up here in warrior two. Let's try that again, just one more time. Reversing our warrior. So left hand down the left thigh, right arm up and overhead, looking towards the ceiling. Breathing here. Rise back up into warrior two. Gazing out over those right fingertips. We'll straighten that right leg. We're going to come into triangle again. Shimmy the left hip out towards the back of the mat. Right hand sweeps down. Left up towards the ceiling. Again, imagining we're pressed between two planes of glass. Let's rise back up to warrior two. Take one breath here, then we'll windmill our hands either side of that right foot, stepping back to a high plank. We'll take a vinyasa or meet in downward facing dog. Looking forward between our hands, let's step that right foot forward, left to meet your right, forward fold, and slowly rising up. Bringing our hands to our heart center. Take a moment here, switching sides, step that right foot back, coming to warrior two. Checking your alignment, gazing out over our left fingers. We'll reverse the warrior. Right hand comes down the side, slide it down that right thigh. As we start to lean back and sweep that left arm up and overhead as we open our chest towards the ceiling. Last breath here as we rise up. Warrior two for a moment, then we'll straighten that left leg. Shimmy that right hip out towards the back of your mat. Right hand comes forward, sweeping down to the inside of your left calf, sorry. Right hand up towards the sky. Opening that chest. Last breath here. Rise back up, warrior two. And then we'll windmill those hands either side of your left foot, stepping back into a high plank, taking vinyasa or meeting in downward facing dog. Maybe giving those legs a bit of a wiggle over here. And we'll look forward between our hands, step that left foot forward, our right to meet our left, forward fold, and slowly rising up. Bringing our hands to our heart center. From here, we're going to step back into a high lunge. So we'll step that left leg back, keeping on our tippy toes, the left foot still pointed forward. As we bend that right knee, again, checking that you can see those right big toes. And then we'll sweep those arms up and overhead. Shoulders away from your ears. See if you can feel those shoulder blades pulling down your spine. Maybe you can lift your gaze. And then from here, we're going to bring our hands down into prayer as we're still in our high lunge. And we're going to start to twist. So keeping our legs where they are, start to twist out towards the right side with your upper body. And then see if you can, if possible, hook that left elbow onto the right knee without pulling that right knee inwards. If you do fall out of this, it's a bit of a balancing pose. That's okay, just come back and start again. Last breath here. Coming back to center, high lunge. Bring your hands either side of that right foot. Again, stepping back to high plank. And from here, either take a vinyasa or straight to downward facing dog. Always listening to your body. Let's look forward between our hands, step the left foot forward, the right to meet our left, forward fold. Inhale, rising up, bringing our hands to our heart center. Switching sides, we'll step that right foot back for a high lunge. Checking your hips are squared, you can see that left big toe. And then we'll inhale and bring those arms up overhead. And we're going to come into our twist here. So let's bring our hands into prayer at our heart center. Starting to twist that upper body. See if you can hook that right elbow onto the left knee, using that knee for leverage for a slightly deeper twist. Again, checking that you don't pull that left knee inwards further. Nice strong legs. 2 more breaths here. Coming back to center. Arms rise up for high lunge. Let's bring those hands either side of that left foot. Step back to a high plank. Take a vinyasa or meet in downward facing dog. Looking forward between our hands, let's step that right foot forward, left to meet our right, forward fold. And staying here in forward fold, let's step our feet as wide as the mat, so heel toe those out as wide as they can go. And see if you can walk those hands a little bit further behind us, just see if you can deepen that pose. Maybe you'd like to grab onto your big toes with your 2 fingers. Anything that helps you to deepen this pose, creating some more length in our spine. Very slowly releasing those fingers or walking those hands forward. Let's heel toe our feet back together. And then very, very slowly, since we've been bent over for a little while, we're going to start to rise up. Bringing our hands to our heart center. Take a moment here in standing pose, Tadasana. We're going to inhale our arms up and overhead. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, place your hands down on the mat, and we're going to step back into a high plank. And we're going to hold here. So fingers are spread wide, index fingers pointing forward. And we're going to do a few more elbow taps, but from plank pose. So your core is engaged. Take that right leg, lift it off the mat. Tap that right knee to the right elbow, back to high plank. Right knee to left elbow, back to high plank. Right knee, bring it through the center, back to high plank. We're using the left knee this time, so lift that left foot, bring that right knee, tap up in the left elbow, back to high plank. Left knee to right elbow, high plank. Bringing it back to center, pulling it through the middle. And then we're going to lower down to our knees. Again, pushing into child's pose. This time, let's keep those knees together. Push those sit bones back towards your heels. And if you'd like, you can bring your hands around to the side for a slightly more nurturing version of child's pose. Again, seeing if you can rest your forehead on the mat, if that's not possible, creating a stack with your hands away for your neck to rest. Breathing here, slowing our breath. We're going to slowly start to rise up. So let's bring those hands back out front, spreading those fingers wide. Index finger is pointed forward. Start to lift that tailbone, tuck your toes. We're coming into a downward facing dog. Really pulling that tailbone up towards the ceiling, pushing into those hands. You're gonna inhale for a three-legged dog. So right leg up towards the sky. This time let's bend the knee, open that hip towards the right side of your space. Looking out under the right arm. And then we'll come back to center, straighten that leg, three-legged dog still. We're going to come into pigeon pose. So we're gonna bring that right knee over onto the mat towards our right wrist. Right ankle coming towards your left wrist. So you can wiggle this pose around a little bit too. You can kind of get into a position that's comfortable for you. You can walk that ankle back or further forwards. Just make sure that you're not falling out onto your right hip. From here, we're sitting nice and tall. Inhale, find length in that spine. And then our exhale, we're gonna start to fold forward, walking our hands down as far as you can to a place that's comfortable for you. We are going to be here for a few moments. And again, if there's a way that you can rest your forehead, maybe creating a stack with your hands, maybe you're able to walk yourself far enough forward to get your forehead onto the mat. Whatever works for you. This is a common yin pose, a place to find rest while also helping to balance our yin and yang. Opening those hips, releasing energy and emotions. "30 more seconds here. See if you can move any deeper into the pose without straining yourself. Ten more seconds. Start to walk those hands upwards, rising your upper body slowly, bringing your hands back. Spread wide, pressing into the mat. Let's tuck those left toes, shoot that right leg back up, nice and long, three-legged dog. Your hip probably feels a lot more open now. Lower that back down for a downward facing dog. We're gonna inhale that left leg, nice and long up. Bend the knee, opening out to the side, looking out under your right arm, left shoulder, sorry. Got my lefts and rights all mixed up today. Let's bring it back to center, nice and long, left leg, three-legged dog. We'll bring it forward for pigeon pose. So left knee to left wrist, left ankle to right wrist, and then wiggle that around wherever it's comfortable for you. Maybe moving that right knee back a little bit if you need to. Getting nice and comfortable, as comfortably as you can in this pose. Inhale, sitting nice and tall. Exhale, we're going to start to fold forward. Finding a place where you can rest your head. Slowing our breath here. 30 more seconds, see if you can deepen that pose just a little bit more. Slowly starting to rise up, pushing into those hands, very slowly walking them backwards. Pressing your hands into the mat, fingers spread wide. Let's tuck those right toes. Shoot that left leg up, nice and long, three-legged dog. Lowering it back down to the mat. We'll lower down to our knees. Pushing our sit bones back to our knees, we're sitting up here. And then we'll fall out to the side, so left or right, either way, we're gonna come into seated pose. So I'm gonna face this way, see if that works. So we're in a seated pose here. Let's keep those knees bent, feet on the mat. We're sitting nice and tall. We're gonna let ourselves rock back into boat pose from here. So we'll start to shift our weight back, keeping our spine nice and straight. Shifting our weight back, we'll see if we can reach those arms out as we lift our feet. You may be able to straighten your legs. You may keep your knees bent. Either way, just make sure you're not curving your spine. Your chest is reaching forward. If your legs are shaking, embrace that shaking, go with it. Reaching that chest forward. Breathing here. 2 more breaths. And then we're going to very slowly start to lie back down onto our mats. Go as slow as you possibly can. Once you're here, let's have a nice long stretch. Arms overhead, feet reaching out long ahead of you. And then we'll bring those knees in for a hug, wrapping our arms around them. And from here, we're actually going to rock ourselves back up into boat pose one more time. So we might need to rock a few times. Once you get there, we'll rock upwards. You can. Sitting nice and tall again, chest is reaching forward, arms are spread out in front of you, lifting those legs back up. Shoulders are back. Don't forget to breathe while you're here. 2 more breaths. This time we're going to come into a seated pose, so start to rise up. Let those feet fall back down to the mat. Sorry, okay, now we're going to come into a seated cross-leg pose. So whichever leg is more comfortable for you on the top. Sitting nice and tall, moving any fleshy bits if you need to, just to get that spine as tall as possible. We're going to come into a seated twist here. So again, just like we did at the beginning of class, inhaling our arms up and overhead, sitting nice and tall. Exhale, let's bring that left hand to the right knee, right hand behind us. Twisting that spine. Inhale, sitting nice and tall, seeing if you can twist just a little bit further, looking out over that right shoulder, maybe using the left hand on that right knee as leverage. Again, releasing, inhaling our arms up and overhead. Exhale, twisting the opposite direction, right hand to left knee, left hand on the mat behind us. Inhale, sitting nice and tall. Exhale, seeing if you can twist just a little bit further. Inhale, we're coming back to center. We're gonna lower back down onto our mats from here. So uncross those legs, lowering slowly back down to our mats. We're gonna come into a bridge pose. So let's place our hands down along our body on the mat and see if you can walk your heels in, bent knees. Walk those heels in so they can reach your fingertips. This is usually a good place for most people's bodies. If that doesn't feel comfortable for you as you start to rise up, you can walk them out a little bit further. And we're going to imagine that we've got a block pressed between our legs, helping to keep them together as we rise our hips. So on the inhale, we're going to slowly start to curve our tailbone upwards, lifting those hips up. See if you can traction your thighs towards your toes. Rising up, keeping in mind our imaginary block, pinching it together with our thighs. Possibly you can come up onto your shoulders, walking your hands and your arms underneath, interlacing those fingers, tucking your chin. All the while keeping that block held, our glutes are engaged. Don't forget to breathe while we're here. Let's slowly start to come off those shoulders. Releasing our spine back down to the mat, one vertebrae at a time, very, very slowly. Giving those knees a nice big hug. And we're going to come up into bridge one more time, or you've got the option to come into shoulder stand. For those of you that have shoulder stand in your practice, please go ahead and do that safely in the space you're in if you've got enough room for it. If you'd like to go ahead with bridge again, walking our heels back to our fingertips, our imaginary block. So we inhale, rise those hips up, glutes are engaged. Maybe walking up onto your shoulders again. Always listening to your body. Stretching those knees towards our toes, it helps us to lift and stretch out, keeping the core engaged. One more breath here. We'll very slowly come off those shoulders if you're on them, walking, lowering that spine one vertebrae at a time back down to the mat. Let's windshield wiper those knees back. So if you've come out of shoulder stand, maybe bend those knees. We'll windshield wiper them back and forth, left and right. Let's let them drop out to the right side for a reclined twist. If you'd like, you can take that right foot and hook it over the knee, your left knee, for just a deeper twist while we're here. Arms open up out to the sides. So we look out over our left shoulder. If you've got that right foot hooked on that left knee, let's release it. Using your hands, bring those knees back to center. Letting them drop out to the left side. Hooking that left foot onto the right knee if you'd like, or just leaving them out to the side. Hands stretch long if you have space out either side. Looking out over our right shoulder this time. Noticing your breath slow down. Let's release that left knee if you've got it hooked. Otherwise, bring those hands, bring those knees back together. Bring your knees in for a nice big hug. And then while we're here, we're going to grab a hold of the soles of our feet. So let's reach our arms in between our legs if we can. Hands come out and grab a hold of the soles of our feet. We're coming into happy baby. Then from here, slowly alternate which foot you push into, kind of rocking ourselves back and forward, just like a happy baby might. Feel free to push and rock as much as you might like. It's sort of a gentle massage for our spine as we're here. Coming back to center when you've finished rocking. Another nice big hug for your legs. And then let's stretch everything out nice and long. Legs are reaching long, arms are reaching nice and long above us. And then we'll bring those arms out to the side. Maybe your feet are as wide as the mat, letting your feet fall out to the side. Getting nice and relaxed and comfortable for Shavasana. And your feet are falling out to the side, they're starting to relax. Palms are facing upwards, arms are relaxed. You can feel your calves melting into the mat. Your knees are relaxed. Your hips are nice and relaxed. Your spine is sinking into the mat. Shoulders are relaxed. Check that you're not holding any tension in your jaw, your forehead. Maybe give your jaw a bit of a wiggle. Nice big exhale. So we settle in for Shavasana. A well-earned rest. We'll start to wiggle our toes and our fingers, maybe deepening your breath a little. When you're ready, you can roll into your right side. Push your way into a seated pose, maybe keeping your eyes closed or a soft gaze. We'll bring our hands to our heart center. Just reading something before we go. So in line with the summer solstice, it says that we appreciate summer so much because it feels earned. We've worked through the year, we've made it through the cold of winter, especially this year, the challenges in the world. We've arrived halfway through the year, and summer's the time to rejoice in that sense of well-deserved respite. And that is the same for Shavasana, and hopefully other places in your life where you're able to find respite and places of rest, just like summer. And hopefully in the summer we're able to enjoy some time outside, away from our homes a little bit, a well-deserved respite from all the time that we've spent indoors. Thank you guys all so much for coming to practice today. taking the time for yourselves. Namaste. I'll pause this.